Trust me, I am as excited as you all are. The football Mahakumbh is just around the corner, and here we are with our first GSC talk. My name is Surbivad, and joining me today is a man who started his career as an intern in a football club and moved on to become one of the most successful commentators of the UAE Pro League. Not just that, he's a consultant, an analyst, an experienced lecturer, a sports columnist, and a radio host. Welcome to the show, Pedro Correia.
Thank you, Surbi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. Here in Dubai, as always, it has been my home since almost 9 years, and here I am, excited for this talk with you.
And I am very sure that we all are excited as well. So, to start this conversation, I would want to ask you. So, I know that you've done a degree in psychology, but tell me, how did you fall in love with football? How your journey with football started, and as a professional presenter?
Actually, Surbi, the passion for football started before the psychology. I always thought back then, 20 years ago, I always thought that the mental part of an athlete was and is very important. Later, the role of a psychologist and a coach in football has become more important and more recognized. But back then, I already thought about that. So when I study psychology, even though the majority of the course is general psychology, then the last year the internship was in sports psychology, and that is why somehow I started my career in football, because in the end I ended up doing the internship back in my hometown club, Leixões Sport Club, an historical club from Portugal, from my hometown Matosinhos, and I did there the internship, and then I followed my path there. I kept working for the club, and more in a sports management role than sports psychology role, but that's how it ended up starting my career in football. So the passion for football comes before, because I played football. I always enjoyed football. My grandfather was a great manager for the club, so we always had this connection with football back in the days.
Okay, so football runs in the family.
Yes.
But how did the shift from managerial role to presentation happened?
Well, that was later, and that was mostly in Dubai that happened, even though I had previous experiences in Portugal, but random experiences going into radio shows or writing some features for some newspapers. Even though I had some spells in the communication area, the commentary role happened here in the UAE. I was writing some analysis, some SWOT analysis about teams in the UAE Pro League in English, and that somehow captured the attention of the people connected to the UAE Pro League. And back then, a good friend of mine, it became after that a good friend of mine, invited me to do some commentary in English, because the colleague that was doing the commentary in English back then left the country. So I started in 2016, a little bit unexpected, even though at that time I had already, I was already feeling that I could do something in the area of the communication and the media. But I started like that in 2016, and until 2019, I was doing it solo for the UAE Pro League, just one match per round. Since 2019-2020 season, we are covering all the matches in English for the UAE Pro League competitions, and it has been a very exciting period. And now lately, since last February, I'm also doing the UAE football show for Dubai Sports Channel, where I am analyzing each round, a little bit like Monday Night Football for Sky Sports, but not as good, because we are still starting, but we want to reach there. That's how it happened mostly.
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't it the first English football show?
Yes, it's the first ever English football show about the UAE football, because of course
Football.
there are other English football shows in the country, but about the Premier League, Bundesliga, etc. But made specifically in English for the UAE football, it's the first ever English football show. Yeah, it's true. You're right there.
And how huge is that? Yeah, how huge is that? Moving on. So there are so many leagues going on in this world right now. How would or where would you rate UAE Pro League in terms of quality of performance, broadcasting, and engagement?
Well, in terms of quality of performance, since I came almost 9 years ago, I feel like things are improving. Actually, I think things are improving in all those areas you mentioned. I also feel like at the same time, and because we are in the UAE and the UAE is a country with an enormous potential, I think we also as an industry, we still have an enormous potential that we can reach out for, and we are doing things. We are going in that way. We are doing some way, somehow trying to manage to get there. But in terms of the quality of the game itself, I think it has improved a lot throughout the years, because of the coaches arriving to the country, the quality of the players. The new regulations also help because we have more foreigners coming in, and now the residents, and I think that helps even to the local players to increase their value and their performance. In terms of broadcasting is where I believe we are doing the best right now, even though again we can improve a lot as always. But I think in that particular area, it's one of the areas where the UAE football is really doing well, and the numbers say that. I cannot disclose here the numbers, but the numbers are really good in terms of the audiences when it comes to the broadcasting. In terms of the engagement, that's another thing where we need to do something more. We are doing this coverage in English, and we are planning to improve eventually even more with the show, with the UAE football show, and eventually other things we can do in the upcoming months, even to take advantage of the World Cup that will be happening in the region. And I think the opportunities are there. In terms of engagement, I believe we can do better, and we are already doing better somehow than before. Nowadays, the UAE Pro League has the online ticketing, for example. That's something a very interesting feature. The full coverage in English and the UAE football show, among other things. I think things can improve a lot over the upcoming years for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure about that too. Now that you spoke about all the three things, and you mentioned that broadcasting is one of the things that has worked really well for the league. So nowadays there are a lot of technologies used for broadcasting. Can you shed some light on some of these technologies that are used for UAE Pro League inside the studio and on the ground as well?
Well, I'm not. It's not my expertise, the technological side of it. Yeah, but the quality of the UAE Pro League broadcasting is recognized in the region clearly, and because over the last few years the UAE Pro League has been broadcasting to the entire world through different platforms, through different OTT platforms, and again that also comes with English commentary on top of it. Even for the Indian continent, we have been broadcasting through the OTT platforms. So we are using those kinds of technologies. In terms of broadcast itself, many cameras have been used. So it's quite interesting and quite comprehensive the way it is broadcast. The quality is very high, I believe, and people have been recognized it sometimes for HD. Many features, but again, the most important thing is the reach, and through the OTT platforms and the English commentary together, the UAE Pro League has reached new worlds, and we are starting to feel that, and that is good, and the quality is of course there.
Sure, I'm sure about that. The wave from here is only onwards and upwards for UAE Pro League. You mentioned that the presence of foreign players do help the local players as well. So how would you rate the quality of performance of foreign players in the league, and also mention your top 5 foreign players?
Whoa, that's quite a tough question. I like so many players. I'm a football fan. Besides my work, this being my work and my area, I'm a great football fan. So there are many players that I admire. And starting with that, the quality is good. Even before I came to the UAE, let's say the philosophy of recruitment when it came to foreign players was a little bit more into the already established foreign players in their 30s that would come to the league with the big names, and they used to play for big clubs in Europe. And nowadays, over the last few seasons, the recruitment changed a little bit, and many clubs are recruiting more and more younger players coming in from Brazil a lot, of course, but even from different origins of the world. Even Portuguese players are coming into the league. So the recruitment philosophy has changed a little bit, and that brought, I think, a little the higher standard of quality in the overall. So we don't have those pre-established names coming so often, even though, for example, Sharjah, and to start mentioning the players as you asked, Sharjah, for example, just signed Paco Alcácer, a Spanish player, a Spanish forward that played for Barcelona and Villarreal, and a very interesting player. They have already Bernard, a Brazilian international, and these are players that have already a huge reputation. Of course, we can never forget my good friends Fabio Lima and Caio Canedo, even though now they have became UAE national team players. They became naturalized UAE national team players, but they are Brazilians in their origin, of course. Tagliabo, the striker for Al Wahda, now again back to Al Wahda, also playing now for the UAE national team, Argentinian born striker. We have so many players, and of course we cannot forget to mention the local players like Ali Mabhout, one of the top goal scorers ever in the league. Amouri, Ali Salmin, many good players, and also some young players coming through like Ali Salah, Hadeb Abdallah. So the future, I think it's bright also in that sense. And I believe now with the resident players, with this new category of resident players that came through like 3 seasons ago, started like 3 seasons ago, I think also young and fresh talent will be coming more and more to the UAE, and that will increase the level, I believe also.
Yeah, I am sure about that. The level is only going up from here. Tell me that the season is just around the corner, and now that we've spoken about the players, tell me about the preparations of pre-event preparations, and how do you prepare yourself before each match?
Well, that's quite comprehensive. That's a big chunk of the work. I would say the most important chunk of the work we do as a commentator is the way we prepare, the research. Yes, it's very important. I'm not going to say I spend. I'm going to say I invest many hours researching about the teams, especially now in the beginning. I will really invest many hours because many changes happen throughout the summer. So the teams will come up slightly different in some cases, quite different in others. So many new players coming in, new coaches. It's a brand new season, and the research is very important. There are many tools available, many websites that have the information. Also, of course, the UAE Pro League official channels is, of course, the main source of information, even though there's other complementary information around the UAE Pro League official channels that is also important to use. So yeah, we need to research the teams properly and in depth to try to understand where the players played before, some statistics like the number of matches and number of goals that eventually they scored last season, the positions that they usually occupy on the pitch, their age, nationality, previous club, eventually some caps if they are international players. So there's lots of things that it's interesting and important, very important for a commentator to have once the broadcast starts, I usually say, once they tell me on the headset, you're on air, it's the easiest part of the job for me, because when that happens, it's all done basically, and I even enjoy the match. I can even enjoy the match. Of course, I know that I'm on air, and it's a big responsibility, but that is the point where I can enjoy more, because the match is going, it's unfolding, and we have the information, and I have a huge pleasure to inform people about where the player played before, what can he do inside the pitch, all these informations that usually we get before the match starts.
And we have the pleasure to listen to you every match. And I think here you've given a statement for a generation to come that you don't spend time, you invest time in research. And that's a very good thing to, hear. Moving on, I would want you to put in a position, because you have a lot of experience, you have a lot of years of experience backing you. So what would be that 3 important messages or advice that you would want to pass on to a budding sports presenter or a football presenter, how well he or she can engage with the audience?
I think it's very important. First, the commentary, especially the commentary. I believe, this is my perspective, each person should do according to the way that he or she likes to hear as a fan, as an audience. Of course, because we are telling a story in the end, each match is a story and we are telling a story. We need to provide information about what's going on. So again, it's very important to have that information with us before the match starts. It's very important to tell people where, how, when, of course. Where is the match, the team's playing, who's the referee, all these things are very important in terms of information. In terms of style, I would say that each one should follow his own style. I don't think it's a good idea to copy paste anyone. I think you should have your own style, and you should do it as you feel comfortable doing it. Of course, again, there are things we must say and things we must inform, but inside a certain scope of a certain structure of information that we need to provide to the fans, we should do it as we like to hear. For example, my style is a more analytical and informational style. I like to provide information about the players. I don't like to provide heavy information in terms of statistics, of numbers. I use that information, but not heavily. I prefer to speak about the characteristics of the players. For example, this player, even though he plays on the left side, he kicks with the right foot. So this is the kind of information and details that I like to provide, because this is what I like to listen when I'm home watching a football match. This is what I like to listen. So this is what I do. And then a big advice, knowing not only the matches, of course, that you are going to do as a commentator or to analyze in general, but to know the game. I keep getting myself into different kinds of training sessions. Nowadays online is very easy all over the world to access that. I do lots of training sessions when it comes to analyzing the match, even sometimes some scouting to better understand the characteristics to look for in a player, but mostly the characteristics to look for in a team. How the teams operate inside the pitch, the strategies, the tactics. The more you know about the game, I think the better you can provide the information to the fans in the audience. This is at least what I try to do.
Those are some very good pieces of advice. I have taken down my points, and I hope everyone who's listening to this conversation right now and who's a prospect commentator or a broadcaster is noting down everything that you've mentioned. Before we let you go, Pedro, tell me, what do you think of this initiative, Global Soccer Conclave, as a whole?
I think it's very, very interesting. I think one of the great things when you work in an area like football and media also somehow, but in this case mostly football, is this exchange of knowledge. with different cultures and with different people from all over the world. Because me being Portuguese, of course, I have a perspective and I have a culture of football that is for sure different from, for example, the Indian football and the Indian culture. And I think an event like this, where everyone from everywhere around the world comes together in 3 days to discuss football from several different perspectives, I think it's extremely interesting, and I congratulate the organization for the initiative, because I think these are the kinds of events where we will all learn something. We will all give something, and we will all learn something from it, and we will all become better professionals and better football people after the event, for sure, I'm sure.
Yeah. That is what Global Soccer Conclave is all about. Well, thank you so much, Pedro, for joining us, sharing your insightful knowledge about football with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarvi. Nice to talk to you. See you soon.
Same here. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
It was a pleasure speaking to you, Pedro.
Thank you.
That was me and Pedro from the first session of GSC Talk. Please stay tuned for other such sessions.